Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's great to see you. This is a general collective reading, so there are no signs attached to it. Only take it if it resonates with you within the first couple of minutes. Otherwise, just go watch a different video. Don't take on energy that's not yours. So let's get started here with the bottom of the deck. So we have here the Magician. So this card is the overall energy of this reading. This card talks to me about, like, what I was getting for this card was in the midst of a magic trick that I feel like there's something very significant about to transform, just because I was drawn to the translucent top hat today, which is looking to me like this, whatever this thing is about to transform for you. This card also brings in this energy of, like, sort of like the feeling of being on an airplane, so moving from one place to another. And through the journey, through that transition, there's a bit of discomfort because of sort of like the cramped quarters, right? Like that kind of energy. So I feel like maybe that might be part of it. But it's also like, I feel like there's something very significant for you that's going to transform or change. And at the bottom of this deck, you have Penelope Dreamweaver, which talks about having some sort of inspiration to create something. I feel like it's more so emphasizing today the Dreamweaver word, which is coming through as being sort of like weaving your dreams into reality, is how this is coming through today with these two cards. Weaving your dreams into reality in a very significant way. Anyways, that's the overall context. The first card that we have here is the Green Woman, which talks about it is talking about sort of like unbridled creativity, where it's kind of like something that you're creating is growing despite challenges, despite setbacks, despite adversity, despite obstacles. It's like something's growing. Whatever it is that you're putting your intention on, it is growing. It's also talking about paying attention to what is growing as well, because I feel like there's something here about, like, especially the next cards coming out, I feel like there is a very positive manifestation happening. However, there's also something coming through as being like there's one almost like a very small, insignificant, it was coming through with just like the energy of like a weed, right? Like something that is not desired, that's growing, that maybe you're being asked to pay attention to. But anyway, this is really emphasizing today as well, just in sort of the energy of abundance and creativity, of accepting your natural magic, whatever that is for you. Obviously, every person's going to have their own sort of thing, but it's talking about like accepting your unique gifts or natural magic or ability to manifest in whatever area that is or however you do it. It was also talking about like accepting that everybody has different rhythms as well, and not to compare yourself to others, because it's kind of there's something significant about like it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, is how that's coming through today. Like, especially in terms of timing, is how that's feeling to me. Or like, yeah, I'm just going to leave it like that. Timing. There's something like that. But anyways, what's coming out to clarify the Green Woman, you have here the Knight of Cups and then the Eight of Swords in reverse, which I actually really love. So this Knight of Cups talks to me about like having an open heart, especially in terms of how you're expressing and creating, and like it does feel like serenading something, or just like putting your whole heart into something. Like, you know, when like a musician sings, you can really tell when they're feeling it, right? Like it's that kind of energy, like putting your whole heart into whatever it is that you're doing. With the Eight of Swords in reverse coming out underneath this, it's talking about like perhaps freeing yourself from some sort of mental cage, for lack of a better word, of like, because this one looks to me like the cage is open, but this one can't necessarily see the way out. Where I feel like, so that's changing. It's like perhaps just doing something out of love is what frees you from some sort of mental challenge or something like that. It's like having your heart on your sleeve, being really open about some sort of artistic creation or something like that. Because she looks like Frida Kahlo to me. But anyways, so Frida Kahlo is absolutely a green woman. Okay, anyways, so the next cards coming out, though, which is really interesting, you have here the Dark Lady, which was bringing in this energy of box breathing. If you're familiar with just that breathing technique where you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold for 4 seconds, and you just breathe like that in a box. So how it was being represented is that the maiden represents the inhale, the hold at the top is the bright mother, the exhale is the crone, and the Dark Lady represents the hold after the exhale, which is coming through with sort of like an energy of like, perhaps you've released something recently or let something go, with sort of like an exhaling energy, right? Like let something go. And so it's kind of being in this like hold after the exhale. Especially because the way it's coming out after the Green Woman, perhaps you used a lot of energy to perform some sort of magic trick, is how that's coming through. And so after that, it's kind of like needing to recharge or rest your batteries kind of thing. Like that kind of energy where it's like you expended a lot of energy, and so the next day you have to rest, right? But especially if it has anything to do with like being really vulnerable or being like whatever that is. So it is coming through with like vulnerability in some way. But anyways, what's interesting about this Dark Lady, though, is that it is talking about, like, in this sort of rest and holding energy, like waiting for the next inhale, it is actually revealing something to you. So it's very significant, this moment here, because it's coming through as being sort of like, you have here the Page of Wands coming out, which talks to me about, like, this one always looks to me like looking closer at something, like paying attention to some sort of detail, because I feel like there's something here about, like, with the message of paying attention to what's growing in your environment, whatever that is, like whatever you've manifested or whatever's around you, paying attention to what has grown or what is growing, because there's something here about, like, the Five of Swords coming out next, which is talking about a hidden influence, like something that has some sort of like energetic tie or a hidden influence that is affecting your manifestation in some way. Whatever that is for you, because it's kind of coming through as being sort of like, underneath the Page of Wands, you have here the Chariot, which is a slow moving chariot. So, which is fine. I feel like this is not talking about like something's not moving fast enough. I feel like that's not the issue here, because especially with the green woman, it's like respecting your own natural rhythm. So I feel like it's not necessarily about speed, but it feels kind of like, because I was seeing this wheel as being like the wheel was turning, but there wasn't movement, is how it's coming through. So it's not that there's slow movement, it's that the wheel is spinning, but there's some sort of like not moving forward, is how that's coming through. And it's because there's some sort of hidden influence, was what that was looking like. And what's coming out under, like, beside the Chariot is the Hermit. So I'm seeing this as being sort of like, so this Hermit to me really specifies sort of like the isolation energy. But I was also seeing this as being like something that has grown in the garden that perhaps you don't, that wasn't wanted, or it wasn't planted, or that kind of thing. Like, it's coming through as being sort of like, it was coming through as sort of being like an invasive species, which is kind of like, just the way that works in biology is that something is introduced that doesn't belong in that environment, and so it actually changes the ecosystem in a way where it takes all of the resources. So it's coming through like that, where it's like this weed or invasive species is actually taking up all the resources, so that that's the only thing that grows, and everything else in the environment suffers because of that. So it's kind of like, I feel like there's something here about like identifying what that is. That's part of the Dark Lady's energy here, of like identifying whatever that invasive species is, because it's taking up too many resources, is how that's coming through. And what you have next here is the Solace card, which coming out right after the Dark Lady, it's like this rest, and then, well, it's rest, but also revealing something that was hidden. And then all of a sudden it's like bringing it into the light, which is all of this clarity. But this card specifically from this deck talks about manifesting. Hold on. There we go. Manifesting something, like bringing something into the physical from a spiritual energy. So it is a card for manifestation, absolutely. So something is arriving. And it kind of feels like, though, you're getting information or clarity about what was impeding your manifestation in some ways. Because, like, all of the resources was going towards one thing that wasn't even something that you were trying to sustain or manifest or whatever. Because the cards coming out underneath here are the King of Swords, and underneath that the Emperor, which is so interesting. So the King of Swords from this deck is talking about seeing something from a different perspective or multiple perspectives with and that is what brings clarity. Like, seeing something from different perspectives can bring clarity. But this one also specifically talks to me about like cutting some sort of cord, just because he's a samurai, like cutting through something, or like putting an end to something, or like cutting something off is also kind of how it's coming through. With the Emperor coming out underneath this, because in this deck, this is, there are two versions of the Emperor and all of the King cards. So this is actually the feminine representation of the Emperor, which to me is talking about something about like, I don't know, this card is, so first of all, here are all the energetic cords, right? But I feel like it's kind of coming through as being like, whatever this energy here is, the thing that is where all of the resources have been going towards, that is not this is coming through as like the weed, where it's kind of like, so how I see this card is kind of like those inflatable balloons in parades and things like that. So it's kind of like in sort of the shadows, right? When you look at, because the way that it's, the language that's coming through, like invasive species and like all of that, sort of, it's like, it feels like a big problem. It feels like a big problem. That's what it's coming through as, but it's because perhaps you're seeing it in sort of like the shadows. So anything that's like in the shadows looks or appears or feels much scarier, like a much bigger deal than it actually is. Because I'm seeing this as like, in the shadows, it might look really ominous or really dark or scary or whatever. But when you bring it out into the sunlight, it's kind of like, it's just like this like inflatable balloon where it's like you just prick it with a needle and it deflates completely. Like it's insubstantial is how this is coming through today. Like it's almost like something that perhaps you were seeing as a big problem in sort of the darkness. Actually, like when you bring it out into the light, it becomes insubstantial. You could just sort of like remove it with a tiny little action is how that's coming through. So it's an insubstantial problem is how I'm seeing this. And then what happens next, which is so lovely. You have here the singer of the chalice, which is talking. So this is sort of like the well of manifestation, where it's kind of just like, it is sort of an Ace of Cups energy where it's overflowing, especially because it's coming out beside the sun. It's like the sun and water is all you need for something to grow. That it should have been like that is how it's coming through. But it's kind of like there was something here, some sort of whatever energy. It could be some sort of energy leak. Like your energy is leaking into something that you weren't intending to sustain. Anyway, so once this is dealt with, it feels like very like easily all your manifestation, or like all of the resources that you need, I should say, are freed up again, is how that's feeling. So it's like you have all of the things that you need. Both of these cards were coming in with an energy of hope and miracles. So it's hope and miracles, because I feel like there's something here with the Ace of Pentacles coming out underneath this. This is the miracle, is whatever that is, like something that you perhaps thought would not grow or was not growing or whatever. You deflate the inflatable balloon and it's like things start growing almost immediately is how this is coming through here. Things start growing. And I'm almost seeing this as well, like, so whatever it is that you wanted to grow starts growing. And what comes out underneath the Ace of Pentacles is this Three of Cups. So how I'm seeing this actually is almost like again, more coming in with that energy of like the inflatable balloon, or just like, you know, those like costumes that have like multiple people in it. Like it's like that is what I'm seeing, where it's like multiple people inside of this like enormous structure, whatever that is, where it's kind of like identifying the culprits in whatever way that is. It kind of feels just like gossipy is how it was coming through, like, again, especially with the green woman, like, because she specifies here, like, not caring what anyone thinks. And I feel like there's something here about, like, there was people who were gossiping or whatever it was, like, and that could have been something that, I don't know, was somehow causing a blockage because it was in the shadows in some way, like you couldn't see it or you weren't aware of it, but it was somehow blocking you. Anyways, so it's kind of like once that's dealt with, the last couple of cards that are coming out here, you have here the Collective of Pixies, which talks about like joyfully participating in the work. I feel like there's something here about like you can finally get back to what you were doing, or like there's something about, especially because of the Hermit card, which talks about isolation. This was in yesterday's reading as well, of like going from isolation into community. So that's how I'm seeing this Collective of Pixies. It's like getting things done that you wanted to get done. I feel like it's like you were almost waiting for this to grow so that you could get something done, is how that's feeling. And with this Page of Swords underneath that, I feel like this is representing somebody that perhaps you don't know yet, because this one talks about somebody at a distance. So I feel like this is somebody, like you might know them. I don't know. I'm not sure. It'll depend on your situation, but it feels like there's somebody at a distance who is going through some sort of like, they're coming out the Three of Swords, but how this was coming through is like they have been trying to figure out how to solve the exact problem that you have just solved, is how that's coming through. Like they've been gathering information, like they also have something that they've been wanting to manifest, perhaps similar to yours, that once you solve this problem, it also helps them as well. Because this Three of Swords to me, can represent heartbreak or of some sort, but it more so represents sort of like getting to the heart of the matter, right? Like there's some sort of pinpointing the problem kind of energy that comes through here. Perhaps having to do, because it's coming out like Three of Cups and Three of Swords, right? Like it feels related in some way. I don't know how. Could be gossip or rumors, right? That we're targeting a particular person. So something like that. I don't know. But it's kind of like, I feel like there's something here about, so that it might not even be one person. It might be multiple people, like a whole group that has the same problem, is how I'm seeing this. Perhaps having to do with manifestation in some way. It's also coming through with collaboration as well, like some sort of significant collaboration with a person in solving some sort of problem, or like pinpointing an aspect of their manifestation that's not coming through, or a wish that, because the last two cards, the last set of cards is the Star, which is looking to me like almost like the beginning of the process for you, where you're the magician, where I feel like they're at the beginning of the process. That's how I see this combination of cards. I feel like there's also like a very significant sort of Aquarius energy that's coming through astrologically. That's important because you do have the Wheel of Time as well. The Wheel of Fortune, but the Wheel of Time. This Wheel of Fortune card always brings in, of course, like the energy of like the gears, right? Like all of the gears need to be working properly in order for there to be movement. I feel like you're about to, if you haven't yet, you're about to solve that problem, whatever that is for you. And it's also coming through with this energy of like, I feel like I was getting sort of like, again, it feels like such a small thing, like picking out, first of all, like the energy of Princess and the Pea was coming in, which is sort of like the a fairy tale about this princess who can feel the presence of a pea under 12 mattresses, right? So it's kind of like something like being able to pick out very small issue that prevents everything from working is kind of how it's coming through. And I feel like there's also something here about like, it was coming through as like a grain of sand, which represents time in some way. So either it feels kind of like you're removing a grain of sand from this mechanism, and it's almost like you're putting it somewhere else, and it fixes the problem there, is kind of how it's coming through. Like, I feel like you're removing something from one place and putting it somewhere else. And that solves everybody's problem, is how it's feeling. So it might not even be that this one has the same problem as you, but it's kind of like you take one aspect of something that was not working for you. It was kind of like a grain like a grain of sand in this mechanism, but then that's the exact piece that is needed in somebody else's problem, if that makes sense. So it might not be that they have the same problem as you. It might be that they have a problem that can only be solved by you solving your problem, if that makes sense. But it's kind of coming through as like a pay it forward, right? Like if you solve your problem, that helps solve another person's problem, and then maybe in turn that person solving the problem helps another person, like that kind of thing. Which is sort of like a collective energy. A collective energy of the gears moving in this sort of collective machine. I don't want to use that word, but it's the only word that's coming through here. Okay. I'm going to leave it there. I hope that resonated with you. If it did, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. It helps so much. If you're interested in a personal reading, you can find a link to a form in the description box below. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great night. Bye.